So, you're looking for some new wireless earbuds, and all your friends talk about how great the AirPods are. The problem is, the AirPods are made by Apple, and you have an Android device. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the AirPods on Android and if they're worth the money, as well as a couple different alternatives. A disclaimer before diving in, we're talking about 3 different headphones today, and I bought all of them with my own money. Those 3 headphones are the Apple AirPods version 2, the Liberty Air 2 from Soundcore, and the Sabbat E12. I think all 3 of these cater to a different audience, and all 3 are pretty good options, so I wanted to discuss the AirPods and give you guys my thoughts on 2 other great alternatives. You ready? Let's go ahead and dive in. Now, if you're on Android, there are some features you're going to lose on the AirPods by default out of the box. The first of those is if you take the AirPod out of your ear, it's not going to pause automatically. The second thing is you don't get any battery information on your device itself, you just get the little green indicator on the inside of the AirPod case. And finally, this one's probably obvious, no Hey Siri functionality because you don't have Siri because you're on Android. Now the good news is all 3 of those things can be addressed by third-party software. For example, I personally have tried out Assistant Trigger. Now for full disclosure, I use the Pro mode. I paid an extra couple bucks for the Pro mode because they're $150 headphones. If you don't have an extra couple bucks to spend on, a Pro mode of an app, get out of here. But Assistant Trigger could add all 3 of those features back. Instead of Hey Siri, it was Hey Google. Taking the AirPod out of your ear did pause your music, and you got battery information and the status bar on your phone itself. None of these features were flawless, like taking the AirPod out of my ear didn't pause the music right away, but it did eventually pause it, and putting it back in my ear didn't resume right away, but it did resume. That's just kind of something you expect from third-party software, or you at least should expect from third-party software because you're trying to use an Apple product, and we know how Apple is on a device that's not made by Apple. Things the AirPods are good at, they are really comfortable in your ears. They don't feel like they're in there super snug, they feel like they're just kind of sitting in there, but if you're trying to use these in like an office environment, you can have them sitting in your ear all day, or at least I can, and they really don't bother me at all. With some silicone earbuds, like the silicone ear tip, if you have those stuck in your ear for more than an hour or 2, they start to hurt the inside of your ears. Not the case with this sort of a design on earbuds. The other thing they're really good at is phone calls. Now, these are my go-to earbuds if I'm trying to make a phone call, hands-free. I don't usually have both of them in. Usually I'll just pick one and kind of alternate. You get better battery life if you do that too, because each earbud gets about 3.5-4 hours of battery life realistically. Things the AirPods are bad at. The first thing is the overall sound with music. If you don't care about phone calls, you're just getting earbuds for music, you're really sacrificing sound quality for the comfort, which is something that I knew going into this purchase. If that's something that you understand going into the purchase as well, fine. Get what you want and get what fits your specific use case. It's just something you need to know. These don't sound as good as a lot of other earbuds in the market, especially if you look at some that are in the similar price point. The other thing they're not good at is compatibility, but I mean, it's Apple. You expect that from Apple. For some reason, people just tolerate it because it's Apple, and Apple only likes Apple, and blah, 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 blah. They just don't play well with non-Apple devices. A final note, I can't say this is good or bad. I've heard a lot of reports of the battery on these things going out after about a year of use. I don't use mine that heavily. My battery still is fine. I've never had an issue with the battery on these things dying, but that is something that I've heard from my friends that have AirPods, so it's something to at least keep in mind or do your research on before dropping $150 on these. We're going to do this last part a little bit different. I'm going to give you my conclusion on the AirPods, tell you what I think they're good at, and give you a couple alternatives depending on your specific use case. The AirPods are great for all-day comfort. They're also my favorite earbuds to do phone calls or video calls on. If you're looking for those 2 things and you prioritize that over how the music sounds, then the AirPods are probably a good bet for you even at that premium price tag. If you mostly want music, you do phone calls every once in a while, and you're fine with the silicone ear tips, take a look at these. These are the Liberty Air 2 from Soundcore. Now, these sound really good for music overall. They also sound okay for voice calls. Not nearly on the AirPods level, but they do well enough for the most part. Like I mentioned, they do have those silicone ear tips, so if that's something you're worried about, then these are not the earbuds for you. But they also have that longer stem, so you can look like a certified tool, even though you're not spending Apple money. Finally, if you only care about music, you're not ever doing voice calls, check out the Sabbat E12. These things are tiny, and they're incredibly lightweight, to the point they even feel cheap when you take them out of the case, but once you put them in your ear and you feel how light they are, you completely forgive the plasticky feeling build quality. For music, these are my go-tos. They're super bass heavy, they sound great overall. I listen to a lot of metal, so that even sounds really good in this. You really get that double bass pedal in the headphone, but they are certainly bass forward, which probably appeals to most of the market. For voice calls, since they don't have a stem coming out of the earbuds like the Air 2 or the AirPods 2, they're the worst of the bunch. but they are the best of the bunch for music, and they are the cheapest of the bunch as far as price tag goes. Battery on these is also insane. It's the best of all three of these headphones, with battery coming in between 6 and 8 hours. That's just nuts for some wireless earbuds. If you're interested in any of these, one final thing that might be relevant: the AirPods 2 obviously charge through Lightning, whereas the E12s and the Air 2s charge through USB-C. I'll have an affiliate link for all three of those in the description box below. It does really help me out because I buy all of my own tech from most of these reviews. Final rundown: comfort, AirPods 2, E12, Air 2. Phone calls, AirPods 2, Air 2, E12. Music, E12, Air 2, AirPods 2. And battery, the E12 is the best, and the AirPods 2 and Air 2 are both pretty much tied. If you made it this far, leave a comment down below on which of these three you think is the best. That's going to do it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.